Emergency Preparedness Council just completed CERT classes, Community Emergency Response Team classes. And I am one of those who graduated. Yay! I did it 12 years ago and I just kept having problems with it. But anyway, we had about 15 people who completed the exercise. Hey, great. Thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
I would just like to express gratitude to the City Council and those who also attend. Joe and I have enjoyed coming to City Council meetings and learning so much. I have been impressed with the respect that you show each other. That has been wonderful. And our Mayor, Harris, she does walk what she talks. And I've been grateful for that. Also, appreciate being able to get to know Kate Bradshaw with the Hinckley Report on television, and it's been a wonderful experience. So please express our gratitude for everything you do, and the complexities of running a city, I'm sure, are incredibly challenging. But thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will now consider approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held on October 14th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes, and we will now move to council.
Mayor,
Yes,
quick question.
sure.
I didn't know if we'd heard Councilmember Child or not.
Yeah, let's make sure we can hear her. Are you there, Councilwoman Child?
Yes, thank you. We had a little glitch at the beginning there, but we are okay now.
Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear us and we can hear you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to council reports, and we'll begin with you, Councilman Higginson.
Mayor, I'm happy to report that the Planning Commission finished its review of the draft general plan. It's kind of in a holding pattern now, I think, while some folks mull over potential ideas for changes. Anyway, it should be on its way to us in the next little while. And I also want to congratulate Councilmember Child on the birth of a new grandchild. And that's my full report.
Thank you. That is great news. The great news about the grandchild, and great news that the general plan is on our way to us. Thank you. Councilman Murray.
My only topic's at the end of the agenda items for around mosquito abatement, and nothing else to report tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilwoman Price Hewish.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to report that there was another successful Bountiful City Youth Council pumpkin patch. There were many, many cute little spooky and sweet little kids dressed up, and who came ready and prepared for fun and getting candied up. And we just have the most incredible group of youth, and they show up, they plan these events, they take the initiative, and it was just a lot of fun. And the weather cooperated, which is always extra special. So I want to shout out to those kids. On the same theme of Halloween, there's going to be a trick-or-treating event that's being put on by the Bountiful Main Street merchants, and that's going to be happening on Halloween night. And this is just a ton of fun. I've gone and given out candy before down there, and honestly, they're the cutest little kids. And it's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., so it's a kind of a front load. And you could still get home and get more candy in your own neighborhood. So I also really love the days that I get to go to Power Commission and represent the council on the Power Commission before we have our city council meetings. And it was another full packed meeting, and we'll be hearing about with so many things that, that we need to do to continue to maintain and keep our system and our power company in good working order, that we'll be hearing about later. One thing that I think that is coming down the pike that is going to be very, it's going to be a change, is that Bountiful is part of the UAMPS Power Cities group, and we're going to be required by the California ISO, and this is all very insider baseball kind of information, but to participate starting next year in a thing called the Extended Day Ahead Market, the EDAM. And I think this is something that if you're interested in Bountiful City Power and how it impacts you and how it impacts the city and the budget and all of these things, this is going to be a very potentially impactful thing that the city will be facing. And it will require day-ahead planning for all of our resources. And I just want to thank Alan Johnson for his leadership, because he is doing all of the work and meeting with people and meeting with other power cities and all of the important and appropriate players in these in this requirement to kind of, it will be a shift for us to have to do this day ahead resource planning, as it will be for all of the other power providers, municipal power providers. And I think the thing that I just want to say that I'm really impressed with our leadership team and our Power Commission is that I think first and foremost, everyone is concerned with and keeping top of mind, how do we keep costs down? How do we keep our level of reliability up? Plan for the future, keep a robust system, and do all of the capital improvements that are necessary all along the way. And so it's just, I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had to work with the exceptional group of people there. And I wanted to just let you know that these discussions, and as you know, there will be a joint Power Commission City Council meeting in the month of November. So if you're interested in these issues, hopefully you can, it will be a public and open meeting, and any member of the public can come. And thank you, Gary Davis, for always being a passionate power company resident. You always come, and you were there today, and I think that is really commendable that you're so interested and are an incredible participator in learning more about the city always. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just report on a few things. So at COG, the Council of Governments, we talked about Code Blue, and Code Blue is during the next months, the state legislature mandates that we have a place that is for anyone who is out in the cold, who, if it's below a certain temperature, if it's cold enough, then we're called into a Code Blue, and we must provide a certain number of beds that are just simply to keep people from freezing to death. So there's not meal service or showers or anything. It's just a place where people can go if they absolutely have no other place to go. And so for Davis County, that center is in Clearfield, and there are UTA bus passes available through the program. So it's an event center. It used to be an event center named Talia's in Clearfield, and it's a good setup. They started it last year, and so they've the county. And so now they've kind of worked through some kinks and they've kind of seen what's worked and what hasn't. And so now it will be there, and on nights that are cold enough, it will be available for that purpose. So Code Blue is what it's called, and on nights that are cold blue, that's when it's cold enough that that's activated, and then it must be available. And so there will be online, there are volunteer signups because they're asking volunteers to come and man the center. And so if anyone is interested in volunteering, that's an option to be able to have volunteers there helping. There's also a really good resource called Davis Links, Links, Davis Links, and it's a resource for a lot of different kinds of. Here in the city, we really don't interact in as much with things like mental health or health and human services, but the county kind of has the umbrella over those kind of services. And so Davis Links is a resource if someone is needing food, or if someone is needing shelter, or if someone needs help, just different resources. Davis Links is they're trying to have that be kind of a central resource online where people can be guided to different resources they need. Also, just wanted to acknowledge that Josh Brimhall, who passed away, who was a firefighter for the South Davis Metro Fire Department. I had the privilege of attending his funeral service, and it was really sobering, but also a great memorial, a great tribute to him. And it was, I was glad that I could attend, and so we're, obviously it's hit our community. It's been tough on our community, but it was nice to be there and to honor him on that day when that service was held. Councilwoman Child, do you have a report tonight?
Yes, I apologize I'm not there. As Councilman Higginson said, we had the birth of a new grandbaby. She came early and all is well, and I'm really grateful for Miranda and Sophia setting this up. I'm there. I'm here virtually tonight, but I appreciate it. Other than that, I have nothing to report. So thank you.
Well, thanks for being with us virtually, and it's wonderful that you can be there with your new grandbaby. Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Thanks, Mayor. One of my assignments is to serve on the Bountiful Davis Arts Center Board. They had their board meeting last week, and wanted to just share an update. They have completed work on their strategic plan. I'm sure we all appreciate the efforts it takes to make one, having gone through a robust general plan process. So they'll be sharing that with the community as soon as they have it in their final published format. But this is an effort we contributed some funds to help assist in them doing with the new director, and a plan that I think will help set the BDAC up for long-term success. So glad to see that they are doing that visioning and planning for the Arts Center. Additionally, want to put on early radars. I do always worry when, certain holidays jump out of order of other holidays, but for your advanced planning purposes, the Winter Art Market will open on November 21st. So if you've been before, they have really great gifts for anyone that might enjoy some kind of high-end local crafts or kind of an arty person in your life. And then also the Gingerbread Festival for gingerbread houses will be opening the first week of December. Given this council's love for mansard-style roofs, I'm really hoping that our resident gingerbread champion housemaker will maybe submit something for us with that style roof. So,
Thank you. Okay, and for anyone who's wondering, Miranda has won awards before at the Gingerbread Festival, so she's talented.
Was that a challenge from Councilmember Bradshaw?
would
To all
you
council
rather?
members?
Would you rather a gingerbread house
This sounds like Miranda speaking. Would you
Yeah.
rather?
Would you rather one with a mansard roof or a gambrel roof?
Gambrel by far.
Okay. Well, I would rather a mansard. So just throwing that out there so that anyone related to the city that has fabulous skills and wants to start brainstorming some mansard roofs has that time.
Theoretically, if there were anyone
Yeah.
like that. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
These are the important kinds of things that we discuss at city council. Okay, all right, thank you so much for that report. And now we will move to item number 5, to consider approval of expenditures greater than $1,000 paid October 8th, 15th and 15th of 2025.
Mayor, just by way of just an update, I had a question in our last meeting about an item, and the staff got back to me with an answer that the question I had was that the description had cut off, that it was related to the purchase of a truck that we had approved that was in the budget and the council had approved, and the short description that appears on the formatting had just kind of cut off the rest of that. So in case I had left anyone really interested in hanging on that, just wanted to let the public know that the staff got back with an answer that I found satisfactory.
Yeah, thanks for the update. That's good.
And with that, I'm happy to make a motion of the approval of the expenditures for October 8th and October 15th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that. And now we'll ask Amber Corbridge to help us with this next item, to consider approval of ordinance number 2025-14.
Good evening. So we did receive an application to add bookstore as a permitted use in our professional office zone. The commission did review this request on October 7th. They held a public hearing and forwarded a positive recommendation to the city council. So the council will need to find that this proposed amendment is necessary in the best interest of the public and meets the goals and objectives of the general plan. It would be beneficial for the city to allow more low-impact, specialized retail and community-type services, for example, bookstores, to the non-residential focused areas of the city. There is a map in the packet that shows where our current professional office zones are. There's not very many, and if you'll notice, they are kind of in those transition areas between some commercial and residential. So it adds as a transitional type use. So with that, staff and planning commission recommend that the city council review the proposed amendment and adopt draft ordinance 2025-14, amending the professional office zone use table to include bookstore as a permitted use.
Sounds good. I thought this sounded like an easy, seemed like something that we would want to allow. What is the council, any questions from the council or thoughts?
I'm comfortable with the change. I was curious if the applicant has a location in one of our professional office zones in mind, and if so, if you can share that with us.
Yes, so the proposed location for the bookstore, if this gets adopted, would be on the corner of 5th South and 100 East. So currently it was previously used as like an office building, and so that's where they would go.
This would be the northeast corner.
Northeast corner, yeah.
I can picture which building that is. And is there a timeline where he or she is proposing to move forward with the bookstore?
Yeah, in order for them to even consider it, it needed to be added to this table. So I believe once this gets adopted, they would just need to apply for a quick site plan review, and then they can move forward from there.
Okay, any other questions?
I do have a question. To our very engaged resident, Gary Davis, to his point about if this if they did want to add something that is common in a lot of bookstores, a little coffee shop, selling some treats, would they have to then get a different zoning designation, or would that be allowed? How might that play out?
Staff has interpreted this, because we did have this discussion with the applicant, as an accessory to the main use. That's not like their main business, so we have found that it would be consistent with the main use of the business.
Any other questions?
Is the applicant here? No.
No. They were invited. I'm not sure why they're not here.
Do you have any idea on their time frame if
For-
this were to be adopted tonight?
I mean, it just depends if they get us an application for a site plan review. They understand that that's the next step, so
Yeah, they're working on a.
hard to know the timeline,
As of
but
today, they're working on a parking study. There's a little campus there with two other older buildings to the east. So they were working on a parking reduction based on a study that came from an engineer. They're anxious to get this done. That's why they submitted this land use code text amendment. So we would guess that they want to move in as soon as possible.
So speaking of how it is kind of a little campus, on the north side is kind of like a carriage house. Is that right? Kind of, and on the east side is an older brick bungalow. Is that all within the professional office space zone as well, those two other buildings?
yes.
Thanks.
What other questions do you have, council?
If I could, Mayor, on the list of uses, potential uses, optometrist with ancillary retail sales is permitted in both, but pharmacy with ancillary retail sales is conditional in the professional office and not allowed in the neighborhood. Why? And don't you think that a bookstore would more approximate a pharmacy than an optometrist with ancillary sales?
We don't know why. It was legislated as such.
Okay?
I mean, we could go back and do some research, or it might be easier for us to, if we get some head nods, for us to do a quick code amendment. With that said, no one is knocking at the door right now on that, and the applicant is very well aware that this PO zone change is more of a Band-Aid. Once the general plan is adopted, then we'll be able to calibrate the appropriate zoning for this corridor. And we do believe that the PO zone will go away, very similar like the hospital zone, or it would be reclassified as a corridor zoning for a larger area, which all of these uses regarding retail would be allowed.
Perfect. Can I ask another question, Mayor?
Yeah.
So Dave Larson's property at 1400 South, and I guess it's Orchard Drive by then, was recently handled in rezoning or reclassifying what businesses could go in there. What zone did that end up being?
It ended up,
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to answer?
yeah, I'll take it. It ended up using an unutilized zone, which was the neighborhood commercial.
Okay. And so that also, sorry, Amber, I should have addressed my question to you.
It's okay. It does allow for low-impact commercial businesses, like personal services, professional services, for example.
Perfect. And again, as the general plan update moves forward and moves to zoning down the road, I guess Mr. Larson would have the ability to take advantage of whatever corridor zoning comes into play.
Real quick, that's a perfect case study of why it was suggested by staff in that area that you're talking about was zoned residential.
Yeah.
It was plain residential. We looked at the history, it was always residential, except for maybe back in the 80s, maybe 70s, where they did have a commercial component, then it was rezoned to residential. And that is the reason, that's a case study reason as to why we want to maintain the residential character along the corridor and yet provide low-impact commercial opportunities along Orchard Drive.
Right. You talk about the 80s as if that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Oh, Francisco,
Like,
it was but yesterday.
yeah, it was
I have
20
zero,
years ago.
zero issue with the bookstore inclusion in this list. I think it would be appropriate, and I'd be happy to make a motion if there are no other comments or questions from the council.
I have just one comment I was going to
Please.
make before, and then I'd be happy to second your motion. We had a comment from our resident during public comment about the descriptors in here about all of the benefits and things being tied to an independent bookstore. I just wanted to point out that that's the supporting documents that have been supplied by the applicant, who seems to be an independent bookseller and thinks independent booksellers are better than chain booksellers. But this would not in any way be limited to independents versus chains. It's bookstore just across the board, and you can then pick your flavor of chain versus independent bookstores.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, yeah. Okay, so is that a motion then, Councilman
Happy
Higgins?
to make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2025-14 and the text amendment that accompanied that number.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And now for the next one, Amber again.
We have a final architectural site plan approval request to operate general retail without outside storage at 358 West, 500 South. This property previously was used as vehicle part sales. In our code, this is considered a change of use, and that is why you're seeing it tonight, because the council does review site plan reviews, and change of uses are required to go through this process. The commission did review this application recently, October 21st, 2025, and forwarded a positive recommendations with some conditions. I'll outline those in a minute. In your analysis, you will need to find that this proposed change of use and existing site is consistent with the purposes and objectives of the code. And so what we have found that it is in the best interest of the city also to have these vacant commercial buildings occupied with businesses so that there's a vibrant corridor. In our review, we found that this does front a UDOT system. Therefore, we have a condition that the applicant must comply with any UDOT requirements. And so with that, the staff and planning commission recommend that the city council review the final architectural and site plan application at 358 West, 500 South, and approve subject to the applicant complying with any UDOT requirements and obtain necessary building permits for remodels and signage. Any questions?
Mary did have some questions.
Yeah,
I caught a portion of the planning commission discussion on this property, and there was some discussion at the end about kind of this particular application is kind of taking a bit of a longer time to approve, given that we're still in a retail sales category between parts and moving to e-bikes. So I'd like to understand a little bit more why it took so long, and if it's the UDOT frontage component, or if it's some other component, and if it's some other component, if that's something that's within our purview as a council to suggest that maybe we're willing to entertain changing it at a future point.
So this is largely due to the fact that this review does have to go to both the, staff, planning commission, and city council. So it does take time to get scheduled for each of those bodies to review it. And so that is a big part of the holdup.
Is it because it's a change of use?
So in our code, it states that any change of use in the commercial zone requires a site plan review. And in our code, site plan reviews go to planning commission for recommendation to city council. So that is how the code is written for these site plan reviews.
So the move from retail sale of auto parts to retail sales of bikes. How come that triggered it? Is it because we've narrowly defined different classes of retail?
Yes, so in the use table in the code, we have a vehicle part sales listed as a use, and we also have general retail listed as a separate use, so they are different. They were classified differently.
So they're both permitted uses.
Correct, but
But
they're
so if we were to
different.
use the example from the prior table, since it's handy, even though I understand that's a different zone. So a permitted use for that professional office space is a bank or credit union, and another permitted use now is a bookstore. So if something in that zone went from a bank to a bookstore, we would be triggering the same process even though it's
Correct,
permitted.
correct.
There's a little bit more to the science than just the table. Often we find definitions or subsequent requirements that may trigger something from one use that it does not trigger from the other. And this one has 2 subzones. The commercial has 3, and they weren't all the same for the auto vehicle sales going to retail sales. In that we don't like it that we have dual categories for uses. But at the same time, we have to respect how the code was legislated. And there was a reason, at the end of the day, why that was set up that way. What is the reason? I couldn't answer the pharmacy question. It was just it was important to them there, then and there. And do we have opportunities to clean the code? Yes, we do. Those are more policy decisions that we need to take care of. And what you also heard from the Planning Commission, and by the way, the Planning Commission has not said this just once, but they would like to see if there's an opportunity for staff to take care of the going from P to P, permitted to permitted, especially if we can recognize that it's equal intensive use or less intensive use. We look at parking, we look at other components, and then we were able to move forward. The code does not give us such authority. The code says a change in use goes to the Planning Commission and City Council. So that is the main holdup. The second holdup, there is a second holdup in that your cohorts probably have a site plan be reviewed by the Planning Commission. That is just where the industry's going, and we're a little bit old school in that it takes 2 meetings. Most other cities only takes 1, which is the Planning Commission. Very similar to a conditional use permit. You guys don't review conditional use permits. It stops at the Planning Commission. That's the second holdup. The third holdup is not really a holdup, which was simply the UDOT compliance, in that it also goes into effect how they define changing use. And based on practices that the planning office we have incorporated with the engineering office, we just want to make sure that we treat everybody the same way. If UDOT comes back and says, this is not a change in use per our code and definitions or whatever, we're good to go.
So UDOT did not hold this up?
No.
Okay, that's good. I really appreciate, Councilmember, Bradshaw, your thoughts about not adding to red tape that people have to go through. I mean, if it's unnecessary. So I think it's a worthwhile discussion. In my opinion, it's a worthwhile discussion. Anything else on that, though, before we get to the issue?
Mayor, I have a question. So I really appreciate the context that you just gave, Francisco, especially kind of hearing that that is more common among our cohort cities, and that is kind of a trend or direction and that cities are taking. We know that all of us up here are interested in more economic development in the city and seeing more businesses come here. And if we can make the climate friendlier, more accessible. So I hope that this council can maybe review this policy, but it seems like what you said is if it is a less intensive use, then that would, if it's determined that the new use is less intensive, then it could just be reviewed at the Planning Commission level. And I'm wondering, what are those factors in intensity of use? Is it primarily anticipated customers, parking, traffic to the surrounding areas? How is that determined, the intensity?
So the code spells it out for us as to what classifies it as a lesser site plan review, and that is if they aren't proposing any changes, like major changes, and if, what was the other two? It was,
I think it's intensity as far as the use hours of operation, and then if they're taking away or adding parking. We would want to know that. Just to be clear, the code does not give the planning commission or staff that authority. We are not allowed to do that until the code is changed. So, but, and we would even, if and when we get there, we would even say, why even go to the planning commission? Why can't we just handle it administratively at the front counter in the planning office? And obviously, we haven't crafted anything for you, and that we would craft specificity that would say, if it falls under this categories, let's look at an alternative instead of staff, commission, council.
Is this something that the council would like to take up in a work
I'd
session?
like a working session, just to even put that three-tier process in place, that if it meets a certain very easy defined, it's within the same permit, and there's no remodel, there's nothing else. Just, I don't know, I think we just put some compliance in there and.
Well,
Can I ask a question about, so I would say I broadly agree with you, Councilmember Murray, with that idea. I remember, I think we were going through like a criminal offense table where we were given, a pretty big, thick packet to review about, making sure things matched up or we were getting rid of different things. And I think it would be interesting when the staff has time, when we get to this after the general plan is finally adopted, to be able to look at through those and make that kind of have a policy discussion about is this use to this use, from both the staff perspective and from the elected perspective, an even impact, an even trade that we could move to the permit counter. Is this one maybe a little bit more, and it should still stay with perhaps a planning commission, and this one, that one still needs to, come back to council, but it would be interesting to have kind of all of the tables to kind of make that determination. If we're going to really clean it up, then really clean it up.
thanks, yeah, good suggestion. So do you feel like you can take that back, Francisco?
We can. We've got Mr. Galen Rasmussen over there as acting city manager, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that he'll report back to Gary, and that we want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and in that I'm pulled, and Amber, we're pulled every single direction, just like all the other city employees here. So we really need to prioritize what we handled. We don't feel comfortable putting this in the annual January, February omnibus code changes, and that we try to do very small policy changes, not
Sure.
big policy. We try to do those separately through the work session. So if we don't mind, I'm sure Mr. Galen Rasmussen will report back to Gary that what I'm hearing is that council would like us to provide some alternatives as discussed by the planning commission and also the city council today.
Yeah,
Alternatives.
In the
and then-
future.
And then a review of the different tables and. part of that.
reviewing the tables. Thank you. Was there something else?
One other question, if
Yeah.
I could. Amber, if this had come across your desk and our code had been written differently with those three tiers, would this have just sailed on through?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, they would still, I don't know, it depends on the table discussion, though.
Right.
But yeah, if it was same for same, it wouldn't even go to UDOT as a change of use.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's what we would like to discuss further and
Okay.
get some direction from our planning professionals.
Okay, so noted, and back to the issue at hand. Any other questions about the item?
Mayor, I'm happy to make a motion that we grant final architectural and site plan approval for the retail without outside storage at 358 West, 500 South, as
Second.
presented by Planner Corbridge.
Okay, and seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we will move to the next item with our Water Department Director, Mr. Craig Christensen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me here this evening. So as you know, we've come a couple times for some truck purchases this year, but we plan in our 10-year capital budget to replace some trucks every 5 years or so. And one that we are looking to replace is our flatbed plow truck. It's not the kind of plow truck that the street department wants us to have, but we'll get our stuff plowed with it. So anyways, the truck will come as a cabin chassis, so we got to put a flatbed on it. And so that way we can put the sander in the back of it and put the plow attachment on the front. We also utilize this during the summer months for construction season, hauling hydrants and gravel, other things of that nature. So we've reached out to 3 different vendors to get some bids for the cabin chassis. We received 2 bids back, one from Salt Lake Valley Ram and one from Young Ram of Layton. We also reached out to multiple vendors for the dump body. That's the flatbed portion of it. One vendor got back with us on that. So this purchase has been reviewed by Public Works Director and our city manager. We did budget $90,000 for this purchase this year. And it is staff recommendation that City Council approve the 2026 Ram 5500 from Young Ram of Layton in the amount of $64,576, with also the dump body flatbed from Reading Truck in the amount of $15,088, and the total for all of that would be $79,664.
Thank you.
Answer any questions if there are any.
Gary Davis wanted to know if there's going to be a name.
Yes, plow truck.
There's your answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe there'll be something better off the other
better.
list that can
Okay.
fall your way, yeah.
All right, can we call it Bluey, I guess?
Hey,
do
that
that?
sounds great.
Is
All
it
right.
going to be blue?
It is going to be blue.
Yeah, I love it.
right.
Yes, thank you. I
We'll-
mean,
We'll get somebody to airbrush some Bluey character on the plow blade or something, so.
you don't have to get creative. Like, if you guys are really good at your jobs. That's the important
All
thing.
right.
So, yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions for Craig on this?
Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion that we approve the purchase of the truck and the dump body at the stated prices.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very
That
much.
motion passes unanimously. And now we get to hear from Mr. Alan Johnson, our Power Department Director, and he's here for a number of items. So we'll first consider approval of the purchase of a 2026 Ford F-550.
Yes, Mayor and Council, it's an honor to be here tonight to discuss these items before you. And the first item, as we say, is this is a cabin chassis. If you remember, a month or so ago, we came here and we got a bed for this truck. This would be the cabin chassis to go with it. This would be a truck that is used on a daily basis by our crews as they go out in the field. This truck on the body would have all the safety gear, the tools and equipment, so they can respond on the first outage or doing maintenance as our crews go out. This truck is a 2026 F-550 truck. It's the 4-wheel drive with the double cab where you can safely carry the crew out to work on it. We did go out and get a bids from 2 manufacturers. We went to Larry H. Miller, which had the state bid, and we also went to our local Performance Ford to get it. You'll notice Performance Ford actually gave us the low bid at $72,756. We went out for the bed. The bed was $57,484. So the total for this whole project truck would be $130,240. We did identify $130,000 in the budget. We would still have to put a radio in this truck once it got here. We do feel like there's still other money in the actual budget, but this one is actually going over a little bit. But it would be the Power Commission and staff's recommendation that we approve the purchase of the 2026 4x4 diesel crew cabin chassis from
Performance Ford Truck Company for the price of $72,756.
Any questions for Alan on that?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2026 Ford F-550 for the stated value of $72,755.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Alan, the next item.
All right, the next item we have is the purchase of a Ford Explorer. And this would be used for the management. In fact, this would be the purchase of the one for my vehicle that I would be driving. We're looking at replacing, it's a 2017 that's got about 150,000 miles as it gets around the country and back and forth where it needs to go. So we did go out and we went out and got two prices again from the state bid, and our local Ford dealer actually had the low bid of $43,234. You'll notice that we had identified in the budget $55,000 for this vehicle, so there is less money in there, which will cover the additional for the one that was on the last one. We would still want to put a radio on this, and this one here, we would put the lights to where when you went out in emergencies, you could flash to help work on outages and what have you. So it would be the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we approve the low bid from Performance Ford Company for the 2026 Ford Explorer for $43,234.
Thanks. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of the Ford Explorer at the stated price.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Item number 11.
All right, the next one we have is we'll bring before you is for the approve a resolution 2025-10. This is for a utility grade solar project that we have been working off through with UAMPS for approximately 5 years now. This project has first been identified and it's had to go through looking at the agreements, working through what it's going to be, getting through the transmission agreements to get the power that will be brought to Bountiful and the other members of UAMPS that would be involved with this. The interesting thing about this solar project is it not only is a solar project, which has a really good price, which is really comparable to the same price that we had for our two utility grade solars, but this one also includes the project is 99 megawatts and the project has 49.5 megawatts of battery storage for 4 hours. So this is going to allow us to move into battery storage, and basically what that allow us to do is generate power during the day when the prices are low, store 4 hours of energy, and then deliver that to the city later on in our peak, both in the summer and the winter. The summertime obviously is still in the evening, but in the wintertime, like now when the sun goes down, our peak it's allowing us to do that. So that's what makes this project so appealing to work back into it. As again, there's two components that comes with this. There's a solar project with the solar rate. It, like I say, is comparable at the $35.45 or $35.45 per megawatt hour. It's also got the battery, which is calculated at $14.14 per kilowatt hour a month, which relates to if you're bringing the power in, it has to be, you have the power, you bring it in, there's some certain losses, battery maintenance, not what happens goes with it, which gives us an average cost of between $69 to $74, depending on how that power is brought back and some of the tariffs that they're still getting finalized as we're working our way back out. This seems like a lot of money when you look at $69, but when you compare that to what the new resources are costing, like I say, as we looked at the gas plants, the IPP project that is coming higher, this allows us to bring energy back in. And as Councilman Price was talking about this morning, it allows us to have an additional resource to be filling in that gap to bring us back into what it is. So we have discussed it, the Power Commission at length for several months now, and it would be their recommendation, the staff's recommendation, that we sign up for 5 megawatts or approximately 5.05% of the project through UAMPS. It is a 25-year project that begins operation. Commercial operation is expected to be December of 2027, but they give themselves a leeway that it'll be no later than June 30th of 2028. So it would be our recommendation that we authorize you to sign the resolution and also the power contract that's included with the packet. So
Thank you. What questions do we have, council?
Mayor, if I may, I was so thrilled to see this project getting to this point. I think it's just very exciting to see a solar project that we're going to be involved in that has the ability to store power for up to 4 hours and help us cover those tricky hours, especially in the summer and when we have those peak loads on our system. And I just think this is really exciting and a sign of, good things to come potentially with our other solar projects that we're involved in. I mean, I'm not predicting the future, but hopefully, knock on wood, that something like this, more battery storage will happen in the future. So I just think this is exciting. This is an exciting project, and it is going to be more expensive than the other solar projects that we're involved in. But as Alan said, it's still less expensive than so many of our other resources that we're paying for right now. So
Well said, and it's just good to have a mix. We have to have a mix, right, in our portfolio. So, yeah, good point, for sure. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Question if I could, Mayor.
Yes.
Alan, is the steel project still moving forward with planned battery storage?
it's still on the table, but the initial batteries that we were going to put in, the proposal that we come back was quite a bit more expensive than this proposal and become cost prohibitive at this point. There is still in the agreements the ability to move that in there, and I think at some point we might, but through the proposal I worked it was basically put on hold at this point.
Okay. So do we own both the solar generation 5% and the battery storage 5%? I mean, if we had some emergency, could we contact them and say, we need the solar, don't charge the batteries? What's the arrangement with something like that?
Yeah, again, when I make sure we say that this is a power sales contract, so we really wouldn't own it, we just have the entitlement to the output.
Okay.
But yes, through UAMPS, if there was a day that they felt like they needed the power more during the day than the batteries, UAMPS will be scheduling for the group the output of the batteries.
Okay. Well, as Councilmember Price Hewish said, this is pretty exciting for us to be part of a solar project, I think, where you can take that solar energy and move it back into where you need it.
Obviously, battery storage of some sort is what needs to be done in this industry. So it is, to me, it's exciting to be able to into a project that is moving us into that next step. I
Indeed.
Yeah,
Probably
definitely.
second only to nuclear.
And I will agree with that one also.
Thanks.
Anybody ready for a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2025-10.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Alan, item number 12.
The next one we have is one of those ones that really, in our case, really makes sense for us to be signing the amendment of this organization. This would be the mutual aid agreement through the Intermountain Superintendent's Association. I'm spitting that out. This is an organization that is much bigger than just UAMPS. It includes all of UAMPS. It's got UMPA, and it's also got the REAs. So this reaches really up into Idaho Falls, down into Fallon, Nevada, out into the Garcane, Moon Lake. It's a big group of people, and we have called upon this group twice in the last number of years, once in windstorm 2011 and the other one in 2000, and my mind's gone blank, but the two big windstorms that we've had, where we've been able to bring close to 100 line personnel in to assist us to do this. And it's this through this mutual aid agreement is where we've actually been able to bring that in. The reason why the agreement was is they wanted to identify the identity a little bit, which we've always run on the thing that if we send our employees out, that we recognize that we will be looking out to ourselves and we're taking care and paying our employees and taking care of that part, or if they come to us, that same type of thing. So again, this agreement makes sense to us. It has been reviewed by our city attorney, so it'd be the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we approve this amendment and for the mutual aid agreement and keep this in force, because heavens forbid we have another big windstorm. We'd want to be able to pick up that phone call and have people that would be able to come. And that being said, I would hope if we had the phone call to us, that our guys would be dropping like these other folks is to go help them.
It's reassuring. Yeah, that's great. Good. Any questions for Alan on this?
No.
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to sign the Intermountain Superintendent Association mutual agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. And the next item, Alan, item 13.
The next item is, as we continue to, the crews keep working, and I don't know what we should do with them. Maybe I should just send them home on furlough or something, but they keep digging holes and planting new poles and working their way through it. But we're finding that our inventory is coming down, which is a good sign because it means we're putting poles in the ground. But it's also a point that we want to make sure we have a sufficient number of poles, for heavens forbid, if we do have a big windstorm or a snowstorm as we move into it, we want to make sure we have sufficient quantities of inventory. As we come back in here, as we've talked before about the butt-treated poles that we all make fun of, but because most of our poles are in the backyards and we do have to climb poles by hand, or, like say manually climb instead of out on the road where we can put equipment to it, a fully treated pole will become extremely hard to climb. It'd be almost like climbing concrete. They don't want to go, the gaps as they go in don't go into it. There was a question this morning in Power Commission talking about the pricing on it. The pricing of the butt treated, although this is a single source, is very comparable to if we was to go out and get a fully treated pole. So it's not like we're getting taken advantage of. Poles have gone up in price, not like a lot of the other equipment that we're buying that seems like has just gone out of bounds. Poles are more expensive, but it's more in line with what you would expect an inflationary price on the poles. So again, it would be the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we purchase 25 35-foot poles and 25 40-foot poles, the two common poles that we use, for a total of $55,152. Again, these poles will be put into inventory and then we'll pull them out as we use them, the ones and twosies, as we're working on projects out through the neighborhoods or during an emergencies.
Thank you. It's a good example, power poles, of things that we have to buy, and it's just, we take it for granted, but these are all supplies that we need that cost money, and so any questions for Alan on this?
Mayor, I have a question. Alan, I noticed in my neighborhood, there'd been some poles replaced where they were short distribution poles next to a taller distribution poles. And I know we've had an issue with one of the private internet suppliers not replacing poles that they were supposed to. Have we gone through a supply of poles faster because they've actually been replacing them and these are going into that work? Or was it just serendipity that I managed to find one that they were replacing?
Serendipity. Like I say, we are still out hundreds of poles that have the new pole next to the old pole sitting there. We're still struggling to get them to respond to replace those poles, and we're still have had that discussion, as we've talked about the franchise agreement, all those things.
There hasn't been any progress.
There's not really been any progress. From time to time, you get somebody that complains enough, and believe it or not, it's really the resident that gets better action than we do, that they will come by and fix one here and there, but it's very far and few between. The other utility we have has been much better about staying ahead, but as we go back in, we are, like I say, tracking literally hundreds of poles that need to be changed over that has not happened as we work our way through it. But again, I still feel very strong that as a department in a city, we're the owners of the poles, we need to have safe poles, we need to keep working and then just keep putting pressure on to try and get them to move their wires onto the new poles. And in the meantime, we're going to have new poles with old poles with some of the wires still hanging on until we can get it done. But no, it is still very much a problem.
Good question.
And my second question was whether the squirrels also prefer the butt-treated poles, or if they're,
That's probably be a very good question, and I don't understand. The squirrels have slowed down. Maybe they're leaving on their stores or what have you, but the outages of squirrels has dropped off immensely here in the last few weeks. However, now the raccoons are getting up there. And like I say, we had a lineman just last night that went out onto there and blew the transformer fuse, and of course the neighbors heard a bang and instantly called us and told us that, well, it's the squirrels. Well, he got there, there was one really upset raccoon with a burn mark on it, still sitting up on the wires. So, like I say, so if you've ever seen a raccoon, they're very cute when you see them in the movies, but when you see them in person, they're really pretty mean. And they're extremely mean after they've been shocked with 7,200 volts.
Wow.
So you can imagine as you're trying to get this thing off the pole before you can get there to put the fuse in the pole to get it back in. So we do run into some interesting ones that way. So the squirrels have slowed down. We've had still a few, but a lot less squirrel ones for some reason. Maybe they've moved south for the winter, but we've picked up with raccoons for whatever reason. I still don't understand why they want to climb up unless it's just the transformer's warm, but
Wow.
anyway, that was off the
Interesting.
Maybe you've
subject.
barbecued the squirrels.
That would be good, Jim.
Okay, are we ready for a motion on this one?
Happy to make one, Mayor.
Okay,
Approve the purchase, happy to make the motion to approve the purchase of the 50 butt-treated poles as Alan has presented.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and your last item, the transformer.
Yes, the last item is, as you'll notice, this is a 150 kVA pad-mounted transformer. As we talked about transformers, lead times have become a little bit better, but they're still not great. We tried to keep an inventory of 2 to 3 transformers of all size in this class, because as we come back in, we get new developments. In this case, we've got 2 new developments. One of them is where the Marie Callender's was on Main Street, where they need to get a transformer there. Down where the Guthrie's bike store is the second one. So we've got 2 new changes that's being proposed. But as in the means of us out working on the system, we have found 2 other items where transformers have reached that age where they're starting to leak, and which is imminent, they're going to fail. Which we find ourselves now being a transformer short. So we went out and started looking for bids, and as we was looking for bids, found that there was 1 transformer in stock at Irby, which is what this transformer is. I will talk about transformers are getting better. We're a long ways out, but I will say we ordered 1,000 or 1 megawatt transformer. We ordered 2 of them, and they're a year overdue. They were due last Thanksgiving. And our current delivery date, they're now telling us is going to be December the 3rd of this year, so it's a year late. So we are finding some transformers are getting easier to get, but that's not necessarily the case with all of them. So we would look to purchase this one particular transformer because I'll call it the bird in the hand. They happen to have this one transformer that we have a need for. We're out looking for bids to buy 2 more, which, like I say, we'll probably be back in November to bring that before you to replenish, to get us back to where we need to be, because we need 4 transformers and only have 3 of them in stock at this point. So it was the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we purchase this from Irby for the $20,000. I will say it's not like the poles. Transformers have gone up tremendously in cost. The last time we bought one of this size, it was like $13,000. So their transformers are much more expensive than what they were in the past and much harder to get. So anyway, it'll be the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we purchase transformer for Irby, for the ABB transformer for $20,000.
Thanks.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. Thanks so much, Alan.
Thank you very much, appreciate
Really
it.
appreciate your time and all your work.
All right, appreciate it, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll now turn the time over to our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Galen Rasmussen, to consider approval of resolution number 2025-11.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Before you tonight is a consideration of extending an option which we adopted earlier with a amendment to the original contract with Utopia. The original contract was to build the system and then to establish a network administrator relationship, which is ongoing. And then the first amendment was to add a 2.5 gigabit per second speed level and to test the waters, if you will, on that. The total that we agreed to were 300 connections at that speed. And then for that purpose, we would pay, the city would pay $150 one time per connection to connect those. We have, that amendment was signed in September of 2024. And now, a little bit more than a year later, we've added not only 300, but 12 more in August and 37 more in September. And October's not over yet, but we'll find out what the success rate's been there. So we're about 350 or so of our customers that are selecting this new speed level. And as we have discussed this with Utopia, the original amendment was to provide for this 300, and then we would discuss what we wanted to do on their side. Did it make sense for them to continue, and did it make sense on our side to continue? Three things went into that decision to recommend continuing that. One was that the speed is obviously popular with how many people are taking it, and it's economically viable to us to have that extra speed. And then it's a competitive marketplace offering that both Utopia offers on their main network and has found that it's been beneficial for them, and we're obviously seeing that benefit as well. And so what we are recommending is a amendment 2 that would adopt the 2.5 gigabits speed again with the 150 one-time connection fee that we would pay, but this time without a limit on the number that we would have, not 300, but it would just be open. Utopia has agreed to these arrangements. The reason, just a sidebar comment to this, the reason for the 150 is that the speed to do this, there is a 1 gigabit per second switch. There's one for the 250 and there's one for the 10. But they haven't found one that's effective for 2.5. So what they have to do is take a 10 gigabit switch and dumb it down, if you will, or adjust it. Will deliver a 2.5 gigabit speed. But for that, there's costs involved in the switch and costs involved in the network hosting of it, as well as the labor costs that are involved. The total cost of that is $300. Utopia splits that with us, so we were paying $150, they're paying $150. So it's truly a shared offering that they participate in. So this would be what we would recommend that would be adopted by you tonight with this Resolution 2025-11 to be able to continue this offering for our citizens. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thanks for that explanation. Any questions, anybody?
Galen, do you know, and if you don't, it is just fine, I can ask someone at Utopia when I run into them later. When they change out the switch for the 10 gigabyte speed to the 2.5, does that mean that they're able to take that 10 and make it into, three switches at 2.5? Or does it use the capacity entirely of that 10 to make it a 2.5?
I don't know if they can share it. I mean, they can probably, if they wanted to pull one out, they could probably repurpose it and put it back to a 10. But it's typically just left there with the premise. So it's not, if they decide to go back to a different speed, if they decide to go up to 10, they would have to amend that switch to be able to go to the 10. If they wanted to go down slower, then they would have to either adjust that switch to go down slower or else put another switch that would be applicable for that speed level. Does that answer?
Yes, that's probably exceeds the limit of my technical understanding, so that was great.
Probably mine too, but I tried to talk as fast as I could.
Thanks for that. Any other questions for Galen?
No, Mayor, I would just say, I think this is great that we're being responsive to the marketplace and the needs of our residents, which is really the overriding motivation for doing the fiber project in the first place. So I think this is a good resolution, and I am making a motion that we adopt resolution 2025-11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. And now we'll turn the time over to our city attorney, Brad Jepson, to discuss mosquito abatement tax.
Yes, and this is going to be a collaborative effort between me and Councilmember Murray, who is our appointed legislative member of the Mosquito Abatement Board. And he has notified us that the Mosquito Abatement District intends on doing a tax increase. Their tax increase will go from, let me make sure I get these exact numbers. It will be an increase from 0.000093 to 0.000117. What that really means to us is it'll be going up about $8 for a $600,000 home. That being said, the law requires, now that we've been put on notice, that we first of all have a public hearing, then allow the council to express their sentiment, and then Matt record that sentiment and return and report to the Mosquito Abatement Board. So Mayor, we had asked that you open this up for specific public comment as to the Mosquito Abatement District proposed property tax increase.
Thank you. Okay, we will now open a public hearing in regards to the Mosquito Abatement District proposed tax increase. If anyone would like to speak, please come forward and state your name and where you live.
Ron Mortensen, Bountiful. Okay, hang on to your chairs. I speak in favor of the tax increase.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you say that again?
Like the tape.
With one caveat.
Okay.
But really, as you know, I've spent a lot of years overseas. I spent decades in Africa, both as a diplomat and then running humanitarian responses for the United States government. And the most dangerous animal in the world is the little mosquito. It kills more people than anything else does, really. When you look at malaria, you look at yellow fever, you look at dengue fever, and we don't have malaria in the States right now. We don't have dengue. We don't have yellow fever, but we do have dengue has showed up in a number of areas in the South. And all of these are really, really bad. And we have the West Nile virus that the mosquitoes do spread. So this is something, it's not a nice to have, it's what I'd consider to be a must-have, and that's why I speak in favor of it. And there's only one thing the caveat was that it says the primary purpose for the tax increase is the construction of a new pesticide storage facilities, and then for other things. Well, if you're building a facility, you build it and it's done. So I would say that ought to consider taking off a portion of the tax increase once that facility has been built, because you've got the cost, you've done it, and you don't, if not, they're going to take that money and repurpose it to something else. And as long as I'm up here, when I was looking at a grant in Iraq for a facility, for water we'd put into a camp, the first year they asked for $2 million, and a large part of that was for the infrastructure, and they're supporting 30,000 people. The next year, they came back, asked for a renewal of the grant for $2 million and 30,000 people. And I said, well, wait a minute, we already paid for the infrastructure. So what gives here? And finally went up to 50,000 people provided for it. So when they get money for a project with a finite end date to it, they ought to consider reducing the taxes afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one else, I'll turn the time over to Councilman Murray if you'd like to say anything about this.
No, just learning as much as I have over the last year on the increase in West Nile virus. Davis County had 2 deaths this last year. A lot of the pools that they tested, majority of them, I think if not all, did test for West Nile virus. So it is in the area for a long time. Just watch the surrounding areas. It's not as bad as it is in Colorado and other areas, but it's here. The other thing that's interesting is it's not a fee-based service. Otherwise, the growth that we're seeing in Syracuse and some of the areas in our county that just continue to go out towards the lake, that's increased the amount of treatment that they're having to do through whether it's their drone service or their airplane that they have. They have a number of drones to get to areas that are close to houses where you can't bring a plane. They have a number of services that are free to us as county residents that I used several times this year for different parties in our neighborhood, and they came and sprayed the neighborhood, and it's a nice to have. So I think that they're anticipating more growth out west. And so I will take that feedback, though, that we just heard from our comment of reducing that tax, and we'll see what else comes from the public comment on December 11th.
Thank you. Any other things that council members, questions or comments from council members?
Just want to echo what Mr. Mortensen said. We have neighboring states that don't have any more mosquito problems than we have, and yet suffer many times the deaths from West Nile that we do because of the fact that we treat the mosquitoes. So appreciate his support for that.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of this.
Okay. All right. So are we supposed to take action? Are we supposed
Not
to?
supposed to take a vote. We're
Okay.
supposed to have the council express their sentiment. And then it's up to Councilmember Murray to what degree we want to do that. If we want to do thumbs up, if we want to do thumbs down, if we are good where we are, that's fine with me.
Okay. I think we have had the opportunity to comment. Anybody want to say anything else about it?
Mayor, can I give a comment?
Yes, please.
I just give my thumbs up. I agree with Mr. Mortensen. I think that the best we can do to keep these pests under control, I think is it's got my 100% support. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, great. We'll move to our next item now to consider approval of ordinance number 2025-15. Mr. Brad Jepson.
Yes, we've discussed this in two work sessions. I did miss last week, or 2 weeks ago. I apologize. We discussed this in the work sessions on the 9th and the 23rd. I believe that the current ordinance has applied all of the suggestions brought by council. So I'm not going to go over it section by section. It was essentially where we were at the last work session after the comments, with a few additions as far as the time frame, the fees, those type of items. So I'll turn this over to you guys for any questions for me or for discussion for yourselves.
What questions do we have, council? Okay. Are you ready for a motion then?
I am ready, yes.
Excellent. Council?
Happy to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2025-15 our regulation of events and film production ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, that passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Price Hewish. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.